Well, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. You are watching Juja TV with the latest headline from across and beyond the country. Here are some of our top stories. The Youth Speak Forum that was held in Dubai from 25th to 28th November with youth across the globe in attendance. The main aim of the discussion was how we can transform the youth from Middle East and Africa at large. Some of the keynote speakers that attended were Faye Al-Hamoudi from American University of Kuwait and Zaid Beriri from Huawei and Malakai Haliday from Rotary Club of UAE. Coming back on our first headline are the 17 Sustainable Developmental Goals with key emphasis on quality education, gender equality, decent work and economic growth, and finally, climate action.
Great. Can you see it? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can, Pauline.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I will start now. So I will talk briefly about following the introduction that was made about me. So as you could understand, my specialization is really about youth empowerment and youth participation and leadership. I work specifically in Africa, but I will talk also a little bit about what is UNDP's vision regarding youth empowerment and youth participation and the role of youth in achieving the SDGs, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, so the Sustainable Development Goals. So first of all, I wanted to start with this, although I'm sure that you have heard about it. We are guided, we UNDP, but also the whole UN family, we are guided by what we call the Youth 2030, which is also known as the UN Youth Strategy, and which has key objectives. The first one being to facilitate increased impact and expected global, regional, sub-regional, and country-level action to address the needs, but also to build the agency and the leadership, and to advance and protect the rights of young women and men around the world, and to make sure that they can participate meaningfully with all their diversity in decision-making processes and in the different agendas. But also the role of this Youth 2030 strategy, which guides us, is to really ensure that their engagement, the engagement of young people and their participation in the agenda, in the SDG agenda, but also that they can participate in other agendas. Very briefly, those are the 5 priorities that we have under this Youth 2030 strategy or UN Youth Strategy. The first one is really about engagement, participation, advocacy of and with young people. So it's really about amplifying youth voices for the promotion of a peaceful, just, sustainable world. The second priority or principle is really about having informed foundations, healthy foundations, so supporting young people's greater access to quality education and health services. The third priority for the UN and for UNDP in particular is really about economic empowerment. So I will also give you 2 examples about it. Socioeconomic empowerment through the access of young people to decent jobs, which we know is really a priority for a lot of young people. The fourth priority is really about protection of human rights, as I said just before, so protect and promote the rights of young people and support their civic and political engagement. And last but not least, it's the priority about peace and a word that you will hear a lot now, resilience building of young people. So really supporting young people as agents of peace and of security and humanitarian action. So the first one is in Botswana. We just started this. Youth dialogues to identify, so basically call young people to identify together innovative solutions to support e-governance systems. In Zambia, we had elections this year, And there has been a tool which is called iVerify tool, aiming at monitoring electoral violence, reporting cases during elections, and preventing electoral violence. And youth have been greatly involved in this tool, in the monitoring of the tool. In Honduras, so the elections are upcoming right now. So we're going out of Africa a little bit. But I thought it's of interest also for you, because in Honduras the particularity is that we actually partnered with the University of Journalism to help us help the country observe the elections, but also monitor the circulation of information, because there's a lot of misinformation, disinformation. So we called upon the young journalists or students of journalism to really create a tool to track this circulation of information and making sure that the correct information is shared and circulated. And lastly, we go back to Africa. In Madagascar, UNDP supported the creation, and now it's still sustainable, in fact, of this observatoire, SAFIDI. So it's a youth observatory that monitored the last elections, and now they continue to do this work about early warning system. So they also track the information coming from the communities, the localities, and they report back to the authorities when there is a need to intervene, when they assess that there is a violation of the human rights or that there is a specific violence somewhere, so they would report and flag this to the authorities. But this is completely handled, driven by young people in Madagascar.
Are robots taking over our job? This was a presentation done by Zaid Beriri, who is a tech engineer at Huawei, who mentioned that how 5G network was going to facilitate the AI and robotics to replace some of the manual jobs done by humans.
We have very big flop here, if you see in the graph, for the GDP. If we see as well the number of the employment to population ratio in US. Okay, so we can see in the first recession the number of the population ratio is decreased too much, and in the second recession the decrease even more critical than the first one. If we see here the GDP the trend of GDP is keep increasing, but the number of ratio of employment to population, it has never reached the same value where it reached in 2006. Never, since that time. So this means that the companies are still creating, or the countries are still creating wealth without the need of people. This is the conclusion we can take from this. But there is one good news, is that the average spending on food and also on extra services is going to decrease since 1950s to 2010. So we can see, for example, if you buy a bottle of water in 1950, it will be like 10 times more expensive than today. So this means that, yes, we totally agree that there is impact on the employment, but the cost of life is getting decreased day after day. So the question today is change easy or not? We need to ask ourselves. So in order to make the change, we need to think more deeply. So we have here the iceberg. The upper side of the iceberg is the easy part where we can make change. Okay? They are mostly linked to our knowledge and skills, and I think it was already mentioned in the previous session. And here we can say, for example, for knowledge, they are the informations that you earn every day. Like, for example, if you have degree in finance, you can, for example, make some studies in, for example, engineering or in mathematics. And the skills, they are the tools you are using today. For example, if you are mastering Excel, you can learn one day, for example, how to use Word. Okay, these two parts, they are very easy to change, and we can really work on them every day to enhance. But the most difficult part in the iceberg, it's related to social role, okay, traits and self-image. Social role, if you studied psychology before, it is mainly related to the outer self. So, they are the attitude of and values projected to others. And the traits, they are mainly related to our culture and traditions. How we treat people or how we treat things in a specific situation. It means that the number of people who are covered with insurance and are industrial revolution bring some good benefits for us. So let's see these cautions from Goldwine. He's saying the peril of predictions. So he's saying that it is difficult to make forecasts, especially about the future. And also Nostradamus, he is a good, well-known physician. He said prediction is difficult, especially about the future. I'm going to ignore all of this, and I will give you some forecasts, which are really specific for what will happen in the future. So we are going to see more and more things which are looking like science fiction, and less things which are looking like jobs. So we are going to see our cars driving themselves. This means we will need less truck drivers. And also we are going to hook Siri with IBM Watson and also Alexa and Google Home. And this will be doing exactly the same job, like you said, related to customer service, where they are troubleshooting and checking your problems. And also, we are taking R2-D2 and we are painting him orange, and we are asking him to lift things in the warehouses of Amazon. This will lead us to less workers who are working in warehouses. So I'm going to ask you a question. Imagine yourself in a situation working in a digital media company, and your boss comes to you. He said there will be an event within a couple of weeks which will be done in the streets, like for example festival or running event, and you will be responsible for making aerial view for this event. So what you will choose? You will contact a pilot and helicopter and also photograph, or you will hire a drone and a pilot. So what you will choose in this case?
A drone.
Actually, we need to be more reasonable. There are advantages and inconveniences for each one. You need to ask more questions. Okay? So for example, for the helicopter, it has better flying time, but it has potential risk. But for the drone, it has more versatile flying capabilities and also shorter flying time. So you need to ask more questions to know what kind of mission you need to do. So since 200 years, people, they are telling you exactly what I'm telling you today. They are telling you that the age of unemployment because of these new technologies is coming. But after listing all of these industrial revolutions, like the Industry 1 to 4, we really reached the maximum level that we have never reached before of employment. So the real question here, what makes the difference today? So the difference today is that these machines, they are developing more and more capabilities that we have never ever seen before. Like for example, listening, hearing, thinking, writing, analyzing, seeing, like analyzing, and facial recognition. So all of these like skills, they have never been developed before. And that's why we are going to talk about this quote from Freeman Dyson. He said that technology is a gift of God after the gift of life. And it is perhaps the greatest of God's gifts. It is the mother of civilizations, of art and of science. So this means today we need to use this technology always to serve us. So what could possibly go wrong in this new machine age? Here the question. So if we will not be able to follow this quickly developing world that we are creating every day, what can happen? So we can see some stats, okay? So these stats, they were taken from the Bureau of Employment in USA, and the source is from Fred organization. We can see in the blue graph the number of working age population in US from 1977 till today. So this till January this year. So we can see also in the green line the number of opening, the number of jobs they are opening. So we can see here there is a gap, okay? And if we are optimistic, this gap will never be closed. And if we are pessimistic, we can say this gap will going to grow up, okay? Or how machine learning works. But you can have a small research how to use these tools in order to enhance your skills. So no need to understand how it works, how we can develop, like for example, a robot, or how we can develop an AI, but you can make a small study to search what can these AIs or robots can do for you.
The CEO of United Arab Bank shared his 2 cents on financial management, budgeting, and alternative investment.
Let me, and of course, Kuwait Masoon. Ahlan wa sahlan, Masoon. Guys, we don't have much time, and I can talk about financial inclusion and financial literacy, and I can go on for hours and hours. We have a limited amount of time today. So I would kindly ask if you can really listen, because what I'm about to tell you, if you really pay attention, may have an effect in changing your life. Because I wish when I was your age, I had someone to tell me, but I didn't. And back then, back in the day, world was not as connected as it is today. Financial literacy and financial inclusion were not even topics that people would talk about. And to some extent, I thought that it was actually intentional that people do not talk about these so that youth can waste their life indebted to organizations and banks because they made wrong financial decisions. Plan. Financial planning is no different. And the trend I'm seeing, and I specifically talk to your generation, I speak to Generation Z, and I do speak to millennials on financial matters. And I've been through a lot because the world has changed, the thinking process has changed, and people's priorities have changed. It's very important for people of your age to own one of these, right? Right or wrong? Why is it so important? Because we're connected to the world? The main aim of this device many years ago, and by the way, I actually saw, I was there, I was working actually when mobiles came out. I was actually working. I was in the workforce. And why do I bring this example? One time I was having my cigarette downstairs on the street, and I do smoke, and I advise you not to. One time, one of my junior staff, he had just joined a few months before, and said, "Boss, when are you going to give me a raise?" He was a totally different generation than me. I said, "Well, can you introduce yourself, please? How long have you been in the bank?" He said, "My name is XYZ, and I've been around for 6 months." And I said, "What have you actually done to even come to me and ask for a raise. He said, I work as a teller, and I've done 6 months, and I feel I'm entitled to a raise. I said, may I ask why you think you're entitled? He actually said, the salary you give me, and I said, I don't give you any salaries, and I don't give you any charity. You work, and you earn a salary. He said, but I can't buy one of these. The salary you give me, I can't afford to buy an iPhone. And to me, that was, I really stopped there. And with my simple mind, I said, but, you know, this device is actually, it's basically a phone. And if you can't afford to buy an iPhone, don't you go and buy one of those $30, $40 Nokias? That's what you can afford. That's what you can afford today. And there was a big sort of argument between me and the guy. Of course, I wanted to guide him. If you can't afford to buy, this is just an example, guys. If you can't afford to buy something, it's not for you. Don't buy it. I know there's a lot of peer pressure. I know that for a fact. And I know that many of us would like to buy nice things to impress others. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. You're harming yourself. The day you start getting into that trap of debt, very difficult to get out of it. I can afford to buy this, I'll buy it. I can't afford to buy it, I'll just go buy one of those $20, $30 phones. And that's that. And no one really cares what I do with my own life. At the end of the day, I'm going to be the one settling the debt for this device. No one else. My friends won't come and help me. No one would. So, please, when you do enter the workforce, and you will, very important, the first salary you get, you start saving an X amount of that salary, put it aside. Put it aside. Extremely important. You may think that, Ahmed, what are you saying? I mean, it's so basic what you're saying. It's not, because most people don't do it. Most people think that what you have in your pocket, you can spend in full, and above that, you can spend and go and get your credit card and start splashing around. Credit cards are there for a reason, guys. Don't abuse them. They're the most dangerous product we sell as banks. Why? We make a lot of money on credit cards. We make a lot of money, I'm telling you.
So then what is the reason that banks have created credit cards, knowing that it's so dangerous?
No, we need to be responsible organizations, Mason. We need to, the product we sell, we need to make people understand. If you use it well, that's the right way of using it. Don't abuse it, because then it's dangerous. Credit cards are excellent products. When I travel, I don't need to carry cash. When I go to lovely Nairobi, and I need to pay for my hotel or buy some stuff from the local markets, I can buy credit card. I don't need to convert money into any other currency.
So you can do this on debit cards now?
You can. You can. You can do both. The thing is, if one of our lovely ladies sitting over here walks into Hermes and can't afford to buy that 50,000 dirham Birkin, but she does have a credit card, and she's under a lot of peer pressure, she just goes and buys it and gets out of the shop with a lot of debt and bought a product that would make her happy with a day, a week, a month, then what? When the interest starts hitting you, what happens then?
A panel discussion was held on designing the future of work post-COVID. The argument was that scholars need to find skills that will help sustain them financially.
This very early on in your high school/university life. And the way how you do that is by maximizing the time that you spend on projects, on internships, on work experiences, on job shadows, and that's really how you build a sense of what work is actually like. Because that's your way to hacking experience, quote unquote. Trust me, there are jobs, and there are people willing to give you jobs. All you have to do is show that you're a person of integrity, that you're a person of values and character, and you have the drive and willingness to learn, right? And whatever opportunity you get in your student journey, grab it and master it.
And what really distinguishes candidates at an interview is not really the academics. I mean, we get like hundreds of CVs, but I really look for what makes this person different than the others, and that really falls when it comes to their extracurricular activities. And what I've noticed is the people that have a very long section for extracurriculars are typically the ones that I can see that they're different in the way that they communicate and their confidence and their soft skills, which is something that we really care about. So my advice to you is really, as the other panelists mentioned, to really crack it is to really seek out opportunities. Like if I have a CV of a fresh grad that has attempted or has a startup and then failed, that says a lot about the person's character and personality, which is something that we really care about more so than a 3.94 GPA.
So whenever you have your own company and you're focusing on selling someone, which we all are every day, then take them in a new environment and you'll increase your conversion rates.
Thank you for watching Juja TV News. See you next time.